More and more these days, universities are offering opportunities for undergrads to get involved in real research activities. We'll talk about that and what undergraduate research looks like at UNC Pembroke. It's Academe Today. You're watching Academe Today. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Jamie Liddy, the Director of Broadcasting here at UNCP. With me today to talk about the trends in undergraduate research is Dr. Ryan Anderson, a history professor at UNCP, who is also head of the Undergraduate Research and Creativity Center here, and Mr. Jesse Rouse, who teaches in the Department of Geology and Geography and works closely with students in hands-on research activities. Thanks for joining me.
No, thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Ryan, we're going to start with you because I want to ask you, what do we mean these days when we refer to undergraduate research? Because college classes always have had research papers or something like that, but really we're talking about a more concerted effort to get students involved, right?
Right, yeah. You know, undergraduate research, you can broadly define as a high impact experience where we give students a chance to apply their disciplinary knowledge as they develop it. So, you know, I think, you know, traditionally in a lot of disciplines, whether it's humanities or the arts or social sciences or the hard sciences, you know, students develop first sort of, you know, content knowledge early in a major, and then they had some kind of capstone project near the end. So, you know, in history, very traditional to have a kind of senior thesis type option, you know, based on an old liberal arts model. I think today, there's a lot more effort to scaffold that work. So we work a lot harder at teaching students, starting really on a sophomore level, sometimes really as a freshman level, you know, how to think as investigators in their disciplines. So building some real kind of hands-on experience early in the career of an undergraduate so that when they get to the junior, senior level, they're ready to do more intense research activities rather than just sort of one culminating activity. And we tend to see this done in two models. One model is sort of an old school apprenticeship model. Right, so something like PERC supports through our student scholarships or through student travel funds or through summer research experiences where a student is partnered with the faculty mentor but not working for course credit, you know, working on extracurricular research or creativity in some way. So an intense experience for one-on-one mentorship with the faculty expert for a period of time. Another model that's getting a lot more traction, I think, and a lot more attention, particularly in state universities, is what we call a CURE-based, a curriculum undergraduate research experience. So emphasizing how students are learning these disciplinary research and scholarly and creative techniques and getting course credit for it from an early part of their career.
So one model might have been the undergrad student working in the professor's lab on his or her project, sort of like what would have been taken up by grad students before, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that particularly at smaller schools and medium-sized schools, this has become popular because it gives faculty members a chance to get students into a lab situation. Right, to get that kind of experience, and not only to contribute to the faculty members' work, but also to develop their own research agendas. You know, I think that's a different model in a lot of ways. That's something that's relatively new in the last, I say new, talking as a historian, in the last 25 years, you know. So, you know, I think that there's a lot more emphasis on having students explore on their own, right? So, yeah, you know, we'll we'll often see students here on campus working in a lab with Dr. Elisa Kelly or Dr. Connor Sandifer or Dr. Maria Santisteban, or even Ben Barr. But those students are contributing to the lab's work, but they're also pursuing their own work. And that gives them some really great opportunities. We see these students as sophomores and juniors getting this early experience, and it translates into internships, for instance, during the summer, so that these people are getting work that allows them to be quite competitive on the grad school market and also in the postdoc market and for getting jobs afterwards.
You mentioned Dr. Ben Barr, and many of us know he does Alzheimer's research, but you mentioned a few other biologists. So what might be an activity or project an undergrad could work on with them?
So, a project that just pops in my mind, because I know it's an ongoing project that we've funded a couple different students work with, is Dr. Rowe, biology, does work with box turtles and sort of trying to map the effect of controlled burns and what that has on their migratory patterns, their lifespan, and that sort of thing. So over several years, we've had multiple students who got funding to spend parts of summers with him out in Weymouth Woods, up in Moore County, tagging turtles with basically GPS devices and then mapping them out. So that's a cool project because the faculty member is getting data that they use. The student is getting to pursue their own discrete project. But we've also seen this translate into really great service outreach for the university as well, where one summer we had a student who was basically ran a turtle camp with kids. He brought in elementary school age kids, and they used the technology to track the turtles, and the kids found the turtles using the GPS stuff and helped create the maps. So you get this experience where the student is acting as a mentor then as well, and getting to sort of pass along this kind of learning and passion for science in this case to elementary school age kids. So maybe they develop, and maybe they end up here in a couple of years doing similar work.
All right, you mentioned maps, so I'm going to have to ask Jesse some questions. What does undergraduate research look like in your field or your department in particular?
In the Department of Geology and Geography, we have a few different things going on. Of course, they're focusing on the Earth and how we can interact in that way. So we have faculty that have projects going with the county, going out and measuring groundwater levels. We have faculty who are working on the next ways, the best ways for pedagogy to be presented to students. So we have students working with faculty to help understand how to teach students. And of course we have those who are mapping. So whether we're talking about people, we have a lot of students who are doing the new geospatial technologies certificate, which is very much research focused and culminates in a 1 credit hour capstone experience with research where they have to go out and do a real world research project to just in-class type of presentations and work for mapping. So it's kind of a broad range in our department. And we work with a lot of other disciplines. So we have people who are from history that are coming in and doing mapping. We have people from criminal justice who are coming in and doing these things. And so it brings in a lot of hands-on experience.
And what about you in particular? How have you integrated undergraduate research activities either into a particular course or into your scholarly pursuits?
So I've been fortunate to have PERC students working with me. We have RISE students who come and help us do certain types of things, even though their mentor is someone else. We have Hawk assistants that are working with us. So there's a lot of students who are able to take advantage of different opportunities across campus to be able to get their fingers into this. Now for my classes, again, the Geospatial Technologies group makes a great example. So we have a few different 1-hour classes coming up this semester. The second half of the semester is ground penetrating radar, where students have to actually take the device, go out, basically look like they're mowing grass for a little while.
Right, it looks like a big lawnmower or Segway type thing, right?
Yeah.
And they're emitting radar into the ground.
And so all it's doing is bouncing back off of what's subsurface, and then they've got to go through with the software and sit down with that, understand what's going on with the software so they can make interpretations about what's going on below the surface. And while it's not something that a lot of companies use, it's something that give them experience with this type of software, even if they won't be using it in their jobs in the future.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Hawk Assistantships, which is a kind of a scholarship or financial aid. What other incentives are there that UNCP can offer to undergrads to kind of grease the wheel a little bit? Is that the right word?
Sure. Well, we routinely give 2 primary awards through the PERC Center. And these are competitive awards that we fund perhaps 20, 24 of these a year. The first is what we call our SSS award, and that gives $500 to a student to pursue short-term mentored research. So, say a student wants to, refine their ability to produce prints, or an art student. We can get them $500 to work with somebody like Professor Sanderson in the art department to buy supplies that they need to build the printmaking device, to buy the ink, et cetera, et cetera. Then the other award we give is a student travel fund. And so students who have already produced some sort of project, and they need to travel and present the research at a conference. We've had students do regional conferences, national conferences. We've even had students travel internationally on using some of these funds, coupled with other funding, to present research and get that sort of exposure in their field. A third fund, and this is a brand new offering that we've got up, and it kind of folds into our effort to introduce students to UR earlier in their career here, is the Charles Humphrey Travel Award. So Dr. Humphrey was a 1965 graduate of UNCP, had a very long career with the Center for Disease Control, and something he had a passion for was mentoring junior researchers as they came on board. And so he would come to the PERC Symposium and visit that, and we had a conversation about ways in which he could help, and I said, really we've got the money to get students in their last 2 years. We need to funnel a broad array of students into research activities earlier, and he suggested that perhaps he could give money to just send students to a conference, not to present research, but just to travel with the faculty mentor and see what it was like to be at a conference. So our Humphrey Travel Award, starting this year, will give relatively new students the opportunity to travel to a conference and just see what happens in their field. Maybe spark an interest in that, maybe get familiar with that process. So those are the primary awards that we give. We are also going to be participating again this year in a system-wide grant encouraging faculty members to teach more cures.
So that would be the UNC system providing some funds.
Correct. And that goes to faculty members. So in an effort to make sure that we are teaching more scaffolded research experiences from first year on through the fourth year, the system is investing in incentivizing teaching those types of courses to their faculty members.
It's interesting you mentioned that the UNC system dollars are for the faculty member, and your donor gave money for travel for students, because correct me if I'm wrong, but travel dollars for students is very dicey. The state doesn't provide money, right?
Well, the state will provide money. That's actually our money that goes for STFs does come from our state dollars. But we want that money to focus on research that has already had a product, right? If we're funding people who have a product, then we have a better idea of what's actually getting done, right? And the state money tends to depend upon results, measurable results, right? So that's why it's so important that we're getting these private funds from somebody like Dr. Humphrey, who is going to help us, take money we couldn't otherwise give to students who haven't quite got to the point where they've got results yet or products. We also do get support, I should point out, from what was Duke Energy in terms of grants that go towards the PERC Symposium every year. That funding helps provide for the keynote speaker. It helps pay for the printing of the posters that gets done up in the geography lab. It helps put on that event every year. So undergraduate research is expensive to maintain. and it's necessary that we use a blend of both state and private funds to do that. But I think that's actually one of the things that undergraduate research can do well for the university is it produces alumni who have a vested interest in replicating the experience they had. So I think one of the things that individual departments and faculty members can do is by mentoring undergraduates, they can build a potential donor base. Right? They can build people who will go out and be successful and want to help pass that along. You know, we tend to produce people very service-minded here at UNCP who appreciate opportunities. And so undergraduate research is a piece of that puzzle. It's a piece of helping, you know, keep that momentum rolling for the foreseeable future.
You mentioned the PERC Symposium, the annual event, and so let's explain what that is. Now, PERC is a nickname for the Pembroke Undergraduate Research and Creativity Center.
Correct.
And annually, you have this thing called the symposium for undergrads. So what is that?
I like to think of it as sort of a nice shot in the arm in April. The symposium is one day out of the academic year. We're from across the campus, from many, many different disciplines. We see both the best and the brightest and developing students take a morning where they present research they have worked on. So in some cases, these are poster presentations. And I'd say that's probably the most common experience. You know, every year we might have somewhere between 60 and 70, 75 people, either as individuals or in research teams, talking about research they have done, either extracurricular research or research they've completed in a class in a previous semester and have developed it a little further and are now talking about it.
So the poster is the outline of the experiment they ran, or?
Right, yeah, the poster usually will feature, you know, a hypothesis, some discussion of methods. It'll contextualize the work in some way, provide, you know, research, literature, and then findings. And the poster is really, if you think about it, like you say, it's an outline of a paper in a lot of ways that gives the student researcher kind of talking points, but also the observer. You know, if you've been to one of these events, you can walk around and look for sort of buzzwords or something that interests you, and it gives you a way to ask the student questions. But there's more than posters. You know, we always have a vibrant, you know, set of art students showing sculpture, showing print work, showing painting. We've had multimedia presentations, digital presentations in the past. We've had music students perform original compositions. We've had theater students perform one-act plays they've written. And then we have traditional read papers as well. So you'll come and you'll see all these different students talking about what excites them in a lot of different ways, which is a lot of fun. But also we feature keynote speakers. So we try and rotate the disciplines. You know, we've a couple of years back we had a professor named Dr. Jim Buss, who is a scholar of the 19th century and Native American culture, come in and talk about sort of his experience as an undergraduate and learning how to research and how that changed not only his career trajectory, but sort of how he understood what was going on in the world around him. We've had lit professors, we've had political scientists, we've had biologists. We're casting around this year, trying to decide on our focus for this year. But that keynote speaker comes in, they talk about their own experience as an undergraduate, how it shaped their futures. And then also, we usually have a small breakout session where they meet with students in their discipline and have a sit down and just sort of advise them and talk to them. So it's a really great opportunity for our students to meet somebody from another institution in their field. It's a recruiting tool for these people. They've come in and actively recruited our students into their graduate programs. They've advised them on career path. So it's a nice networking opportunity. Besides just being a time where we talk about, at the end of the academic year, all the great work that got done on campus in the last year.
Jesse, have you had students at PERC doing papers or experiments?
So we, of course, encourage a lot of our students to be able to get out there. It's nice to be able to see all the posters as they're coming through, but it's always best whenever we get to see our own students' posters.
Right, because they print them in your lab, so
Yeah.
you help print them and see what all they're working on.
Yeah, a little bit of a preview before the main day. But yeah, every year we have, I think, somewhere between 6 and 8 of our students between geology and geography presenting on either research or work they've been doing through the year. So it's something that we really want to encourage. And while there are a lot of opportunities to get funding for research, we really push ideas like independent studies and things along those lines that are accurate in a different way. It gives them credit hours towards their major, in addition to potentially even getting funding for presenting this material once it's been done. So it's a nice combination of being able to take the students in the classroom doing something, then having other ones that you're working one-on-one as mentors, even without the funding, and then taking them to a conference to be able to see this. And a lot of the presentations that our students have done at PERC have actually been ones that they've actually started by creating for another conference. That might be a fall or an earlier spring conference that they then bring with them to PERC.
Yeah. And I think that's been a strength of the symposium is for some of these people, it's their first exposure to participating in that kind of intellectual conversation. And I know that when I've mentored people, that they'll be nervous about it, but then once they do it, they find it exciting. And they decide, hey, I want to do this again. I can improve this project. We can work on a little more with my mentor and take it somewhere else. And it tends to be a nice little springboard.
What do you think of the quality of the undergrad research that you have seen here? It's one thing to say, oh, the student gets a lot of experience doing it, but you can get a lot of experience doing something erroneous or the project doesn't work out. But have you ever been able to use any of an undergrad's findings or data? Is it safe enough? Are you always correcting their work? What do you think? What have you seen?
It's always a great opportunity to get the extra data. And one of the things that one of my research areas is crowdsourced data. And whenever you're using that type of data, you have certain expectations of it. And it's the same thing with student data, that you have certain expectations, but at the same time, it's better than crowdsourced because at least you know that they understand the method that you want them to use. So it's generally good data, as Ryan was talking about with Dr. Rowe's students. He's been using this data for years and years, and we've helped a lot of his students build out these different models that he's been working on, and it's really good data that they've been able to collect. And it's not just our students, but like you're saying, K-12 students that have helped them as well. So whenever you have that ability to bring it all in together, it's data. It's it's what we collected.
Yeah. I often, I don't necessarily incorporate undergraduate research into my own research, and that's kind of a disciplinary thing. I think
well, let's talk about
okay.
the humanities.
Sure.
I mean, what would undergraduate research look like for a history professor, for example?
Well, for a history professor, undergraduate research looks a lot like a person in an archive weeding through old dusty papers from the 18th or 19th century, which is not the easiest thing to emulate, right? Certainly these days with digitalization, it's gotten easier to incorporate research into humanities classroom. For instance, I teach a course on the history of rock and roll every other fall. I'm teaching it this fall. So, the students have to take a song. They blindly pick one out of a hat. I give them a hat filled with slips with the song names on them, and they have to then spend the semester researching the song, the album, the band, and make an argument for its historical significance. So history research is changing. The types of subjects we look at, like a pop culture subject like rock and roll, is a way that new historical research is being done. I'm a new social and cultural historian, so I ask questions differently than somebody would have asked 15 or 20 years ago. But I mentor those students. We walk through the research process, from developing a question about something seemingly as simple as a song title, to developing a body of primary and secondary literature, so sources from that time period that the song was written and performed first, and then books helping them interpret and analyze that information, and then on through the writing process. So this fall, and I typically have the students write a research paper and then present their paper using a research poster during the final exam period, where they get feedback on their methods and their findings and that sort of thing. And so this fall, what I'm doing for the first time is I've told the students that the best 2 or 3 projects will be projects I incorporate into my own teaching. And then next time, I will take a couple of these songs and use them in class. So for me, it's an interesting way to take research and have it, be a pedagogical tool, but also be a content-changing tool. Be something. I've told them, hey, make a case for why I need to talk about Duran Duran in class, because I'm not going to do it unless you make me. I do not want to talk New Wave.
Right, I see what you're saying. When I taught my law class and I had the students, they all had to find lawsuits. They had to find the actual appellate court decisions and all the legalese and find them on, kind of a general topic area and find them. And they found cases I didn't know were out there yet. And eventually they worked their way into my own law review article, right? I mean, after a couple of semesters of the students finding this and working on these topics, I thought, that there's something there, there's a topic or a thesis here, and I myself got something out of it, right? And so I was wondering about that, like faculty incentives or why do it? Because it seems like a lot more work, though, to mentor students through this. And if you're not getting a few $100s from the state to do it, right? Why do it? What do you get out of it?
Well, it's the experience, right? It's the ability to work with the student, whether we're talking about somebody in the social sciences, humanities, the sciences, the arts. It's the ability to see how they're developing, and like you're saying, getting aspects of what they're doing to build back into your own research. But it is to be able to see what they can do, what they can take with our knowledge, and how they can build on it in their own research. The whole point of research, right?
Right.
Yes, and I think, at UNCP, maybe as a scholar, I might be, not me personally, but a faculty member might be at a disadvantage not having graduate students.
Right.
Because there are very few graduate programs here. And so you have to find ways to work in projects that the students can do, but also get valid data, all right? And what were you going to say,
Well, I was
Jesse?
going to say, because my experience, because I came from Appalachian State, which also in my program in anthropology at the time, there was no grad program, and so we as the students became the grad students. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to come to a smaller school, to be able to kind of replicate that. Because at the universities, the research ones and those type of universities, they have grad programs, and the grad students get a lot of attention, but they're not the only people who deserve that attention. And so that's why, being able to come to a school this size really gives us that opportunity to change the research focus a little bit and bring it into things much earlier.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're out of time. Thanks for the good conversation today. You've been watching Academe Today, produced on campus at the University of North Carolina at Pembroke. Thanks to Dr. Ryan Anderson and Mr. Jesse Rouse for joining me today to talk about the nature of undergraduate research. I'm Jamie Liddy. See you next time.